Good evening and welcome to this edition of The List on UWW-TV. I'm Chris Pittner alongside David Paulier. For the next few minutes, we will present our top 5 sports stories of the week and discuss why they made our top 5. Did yours make our top 5? Let's find out. At number 5, the NFL draft is slowly approaching, with the draft taking place from April 27th to April 29th. With the Carolina Panthers starting the draft off after trading for the first pick, David, what are some of the draft picks we're expecting to see during that weekend?
Well, I think C.J. Stroud to the Panthers is all but confirmed. It has to be one of the biggest home run picks you could predict in recent draft history. I think one of the main things that contributed to that was the fact that the Panthers had 14 people present representing the Panthers at C.J. Stroud's pro day at Ohio State, when the next highest team, the Texans, only had 5. You also saw C.J. Stroud having deep talks with Frank Reich, and it's easy to tell that C.J. Stroud will be the Panthers' next QB.
I really think the Panthers could be a true sleeper team next year, but moving over to the Packers, I really think a good sleeper pick for them could be Jalen Hyatt in perhaps even the 3rd round. He's a really good receiver out of Tennessee, and he has a lot of speed, and I think him and Christian Watson could form a dynamic duo for years to come.
Yeah, if we're going on sleepers, I'd have to go home and shout out DJ Turner, Michigan quarterback. Ran the fastest 40-yard dash time at the Combine at only a 4.26 and was the 4th highest cornerback graded in press coverage last year, so look for him to be an early first-round sleeper. But at story number 4, March Madness has finally wrapped up after number 4 ranked UConn took down number 5 ranked San Diego State in the championship matchup 76-59. Chris, what were some of your favorite matchups this year during the NCAA tournament, and how do you feel about how it ended?
I know in the first round there were a lot of good ones. FAU, the team who made the Final Four as a 9 seed this year, almost didn't even make it past the first round after a really tough matchup with Memphis. That was one of my favorites to watch, along with the Purdue and Fairleigh Dickinson upset, the 16 over the 1 seed. That was definitely a lot of fun to watch. Just watching all these underdog teams make huge runs this year was just a lot of fun for me. I don't know about you, David, but it was for me.
I definitely had a lot of fun watching the upsets as well, but one of my favorite teams to watch this year is actually Kansas State. I think their 5'8" point guard Marquise Noel is just an absolute pleasure to watch, averaging about 20 points and 18 assists per game. And I also think their coach Jerome Tang did a really good job at drawing up late game mismatches and was really good at closing out late games. But Chris, what do you think are some early prospect teams for next year going into the 2024 season?
I'm going to have to go with the hometown team, the Marquette Golden Eagles. I really think they're returning most of their team. They were a 2 seed this year. They got upset by Michigan State, but they also had the Coach of the Year nationally in Shaka Smart. Tyler Coble and Cam Jones are both going to be back next year, and in my opinion, I think they're a favorite to be able to run it back.
At number 3, speaking of March Madness, the women's tournament also wrapped up this past weekend, and with a lot of backlash coming from players towards LSU. LSU star player Angel Reese is receiving some backlash after repeatedly taunting Iowa guard Caitlin Clark with multiple "you can't see me" gestures. Reese was also seen giving rude gestures towards children, and many people are calling for an apology from Angel. Chris, how do you feel about what Reese did?
I really think it was just kind of a heat of the moment thing. You see it a lot in the NBA too, where players kind of talk after they win a huge game like this was, and Caitlin Clark actually acknowledged that people were being too hard on Angel Reese. I really don't think she needs to apologize. If she did, I think that would help her credibility a little bit, but I don't think it's necessary. I really don't.
And especially when you take into the fact that Caitlin Clark was also trash-talking and taunting multiple players throughout the tournament as well, throughout the Elite 8 game and the Sweet 16 game. And I think that she needs to be held at the same standard as Angel Reese in that regard for her actions on the court. But you could also take into consideration that Angel Reese might be a little upset of all the national attention that Caitlin Clark in Iowa has gotten when LSU, who won the championship and had almost just as dominant of a run, didn't get covered nearly as much on the national level.
I actually think they had a more dominant run. Angel Reese, who was a number 2 recruit in 2020 who transferred into LSU this year, was absolutely magnificent. She averaged over 20 points and 10 rebounds per game. We've got more coming up on the list, including our first impressions this year to this fresh baseball season.
Talk, I mean, especially on days I'm hosting, you really need to be up early looking at those news stories, even the night before. I'm finding topics that I can incorporate in the show, and I feel like we get a conversation going.
Once you get the opportunity to do that with other people who appreciate it the same level as you do, it makes it that much more enjoyable.
For everything sports, tune in Monday through Thursday at 91.7 The Edge or watch us on UWW-TV.
Here at UW Whitewater Intramural Sports, we have a motto: a sport for everyone and everyone in a sport.
Come on! That's it anyways. Oh, she got that off, and they're gonna count it.
Had a blast. Always have fun at intramurals.
Every day we strive to go above and beyond that goal by providing healthy exercise, promoting leisure education, and giving students that competitive atmosphere they are looking for.
Yes! Yes!
It's exciting. Brings me back to those high school days with Friday Night Lights.
With our 25 different intramural sports offered, we guarantee that we have a sport for you. Go to our website and find your sport today.
Number 32, Kyle Hornsby.
Inside the 30. Touchdown. Michaela Burgess. An incredible finish by Holmes.
The NCAA and its member schools offer nearly 500,000 college athletes a path to go pro in something other than sports. Learn more at ncaa.org.
As an Army ROTC cadet at Whitewater, you have the opportunity to develop into a great leader while learning and applying the Army values to your everyday life. Within ROTC, you have the chance to travel overseas in the CULP program to train with other militaries, attend many elite Army schools such as Airborne and Combat Diver, and you have the opportunity to attend conferences and guest lectures by some of the Army's top-ranking officers. Our Warhawk cadets participate in many extracurricular activities, Division III sports, Greek life, intramural sports, among many other team building and community service events. Being a cadet at Whitewater is more than just being part of the Army. It's also about being active members in our community and coming together to form a family atmosphere. Anyone who wants to be a part of something bigger than themselves while developing themselves professionally should consider UW Whitewater ROTC. To sign up for UW Whitewater ROTC, go to the 4th floor of McCutcheon Hall to room 417.
Welcome back to The List on UWW-TV. Let's continue the countdown to this week's top sports stories. At number 2, the MLB season kicked off over spring break with some early big plays being made within the first games of the day. Some of the biggest plays include Aaron Judge hitting a home run on the second pitch thrown to him, Hunter Renfroe catching a ball without looking at it, and Brewers rookie Bryce Turang hitting his first career home run and it being a grand slam. Chris, how do you feel about baseball starting up again this year?
I'm just really excited for the Brewers this year. They have a lot of young prospects with Joey Wiemer, Garrett Mitchell, and Bryce Turang, and also Sal Frelick and Jackson Chourio down in the minors still. I really think the future's bright for the Brewers. They're off to a really solid start this year. They hung 9-10 on the Mets so far, and they also hung 9 on the Cubs in the game before that. I just really think their offense has been the key so far, and the pitching's been pretty good too. Brandon Woodruff and Freddie Peralta have both had solid first starts, along with Eric Lauer and Wade Miley pitching really well in addition to that.
Now, in terms of the current standings for the NL and AL, are there any teams that really jump out on you early?
I was a little surprised to see how the Phillies started this year, and oppositely, I was surprised to see how well the Rangers started in that series. They really gave the Phillies a beating and kind of gave them a bit of a wake-up call, I think. Both Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler were shelled in their first starts of the season.
I would also throw the Braves into there. I think the Braves have more than enough talent to make it back to the World Series with guys like Acuna, Austin Riley, Matt Olson, all getting off to great starts. So it's going to be interesting to see how they do down the stretch as well.
And now it is time to reveal our number one sports story of the week. At our number one spot of the week, both baseball and softball seasons have picked up for UW-Whitewater, with our baseball team currently residing at 11-4 and our softball team sitting at 10-2. With both teams having dominant performances in their next games being played later this week, David, how do our teams stack up in both the WIAC and national championship contention?
Well, it's really nice to see that the baseball team is finally getting the respect it deserves, coming in at 10th in the power rankings. We have 3 players with 3 home runs already: Adam Kootway, Sam Vomhoff, and Jacob DeMeyer. And Bennett Frazier also has 3 triples. So in terms of the baseball production offensively, that's really a good thing to see.
Yeah, the baseball team's been able to hang up a lot of runs this year. I know they put up, I believe, 22 against Grinnell this year. And they've also, like you said, they've hit a lot of home runs. And they have 4 guys with an OPS over 1,000 this year, which is a really good start for the team. And for softball, Taylor Kohler is hitting .429 on the year with 4 RBIs. And sophomore Kiara Kastrowski is hitting .257 with 7 RBIs. David, what do you think they're going to do and achieve for the rest of the season?
Well, I think they'll have to continue to adapt to how different pitchers throw at them in terms of, different scouting reports and everything will come out to some of these hitters' hitting tendencies. So continuing to adjust how pitchers try to pitch around some of the higher tier offensive players will be interesting to see.
Yeah, I really think that applies to Taylor Kohler, as she's a freshman and she's off to a really hot start. She's definitely going to be a focus for the rest of the season for other teams. And that will do it for this edition of The List here on UWW-TV. We'll be back next week to talk up the sports headlines. For David Pallier, I'm Chris Pittner, and we will see you then.